Good evening and welcome to your Friday night podcast here on Four Lads Had a Dream. My name is Andrew and I'm joined tonight by three of my very favourite podders, Davie, Calvin and William. No massive exciting breaking news for this one, so we're just doing a little bit of a news roundup instead. Couple of bits of interest to talk about, but I'll come to you first, Davie. How you doing?
I'm doing not too bad at all. I had a very interesting chat with Mark Walters yesterday, which maybe some of the members have watched by now. And it's great to go on talking about 2026 for a change, because all I seem to do over the last few weeks is talk about things that happened years ago.
No, absolutely. And I would encourage anyone who's interested in seeing that interview just to click the old QR code up there and sign up as a member. You can join the 1,000+ members that we have now. Good chunk of that's thanks to the generosity of our various members, and we thank them for that generosity. But yeah, if you want ad-free shows, exclusive look aheads at the stuff we've got coming up, like the Mark Walters interview that Dave's talking about, then sign on up. Calvin, my friend, you've been off partying in Ibiza, so you're back now and ready to get back to work. How are you feeling at the moment?
Back and in rehab, so it's now time for the Rangers rehab. So it's kind of the works end tip. You get your summer off, you go through a bit of blowout, and then you end up back at Rangers and then needing the rehab for dealing with the Rangers news, everything like that. So it'll be interesting to see how the next few months go, but glad to be back and glad to be back on with you guys.
No, it's a pleasure to have you, mate. And someone's representing the hats at least. You know, me, William, Davie, obviously.
A nice new one, by the way.
No, it's looking good, man.
Featured colour. The mic's got to join it up the top now, so it's not
complaining about audio's going through loud and clear, so you're absolutely fine, my friend. And finally, William, how are you doing, mate? All good?
All good, thank you. Just got the kids down settled early for tonight, so got a rare early night. The kids are in bed. Get to join you and talk everything about Rangers. So no hats from me, as Calvin made that comment. Other Andrew held me up and put me in the gulag last time, and I came on with any stub on it with cat ears, and he said he was going to put his hat on. So yeah, I'm not going to do that again.
No, I think that's fair, entirely justified. So Davie, I'll come to you first, but I want to get kind of vague reaction from the rest of the guys. We got the news today that Rangers are changing their pre-season location, so we are still going away for a training camp, but no longer to Austria, but to Spain instead. You can probably assume that's down to the change in manager, or changing from a first-team coach to a manager. I don't think it's going to make too much of an odds. I think the only concern is what kind of state Derek's tan's going to be in by the time he gets back from it. But, I mean, it's a fairly standard thing. I think it just comes down to what you're more familiar with, because I'm pretty sure that's where Hearts went away to last season as well.
Yeah, well, I think you've just said both the things that I was going to say about it, actually. So I don't think there's a lot I can really add to that. Yeah, I think Spanish pre-season camps are actually quite common, aren't they? There's quite a few teams go to Spain. Guaranteed good weather, good facilities. So I think it's somewhere that the new manager knows well. And as all managers do when they take on a new club, they tend to bring people in that they know, and they plan to go to places that they know. So it doesn't really surprise me that much. The thing that's most interesting to me isn't so much where they're going, it's just how many new players there's going to be by the time they get there.
That's true. I mean, Stevie made the point on the midweek that he thinks we're going to sign like 10 players, and we've already got 5 of them in the door already. We're going to come on a little bit later on to some more potential links, but Calvin, William, I'm not going to try and force you guys to come up with something else to talk about the fact that we've changed our preseason venue. So instead, I want to chat more about the 2 press conferences that we had over the past couple of days from Ross McCrorie and Ben Godfrey. Our very own roving reporter, Rob, was out there. You can check out both of those press conference videos, his reaction to them, as well as the press conferences in full. So well worth checking out, obviously. But Calvin, I'll come to you first, and we'll talk about Ross McCrorie. I think what was very interesting was it hadn't been made like that apparent in, I think, his first Rangers TV interview, but certainly in this one, he really stressed how much of a factor Derek McInnes had been in Ross McCrorie coming into the club.
Yeah, and I think if you look back in even January, I'm pretty sure Ross McCrorie was linked to West Ham in January due to his kind of performances that he had at Bristol City. And it's something that, if you think way back, everybody knew he had ability. It was the question of what position did he play? could he really drag it out to him if he wasn't playing every single week? And it looked like he kind of found himself down the Championship, because I remember every week he had a great performance. He had one of the best ball return kind of stats. He was winning the ball, his tackles, his pass percentages. So there was that player in there. It was just trying to get him that experience to go out and do it, because he had the mentality to do it. He just didn't always have the amount of appearances that allow him to develop. And you talked about it when he was at Aberdeen, how McInnes came to his house in East Kilbride. He was the big factor that got him up there. And you can imagine that's what he's done. It's something that you've known about Derek McInnes, whatever club he's went to. The players want to run through a brick wall for him. So that's a lot about the type of character he is and how he manages these players. So for me, that's got to be key for every single player. We've seen how many times have we said the players have threw the manager under a bus. McInnes is the type of man who isn't going to allow that, or at least he won't allow that environment to kind of stem itself into one that allows it to be a chuck a manager under the bus. These players will know what he wants from them, and he's the man that can drag out of him, and it's something why we all wanted Derek McInnes across numerous attempts at interviews, etc. He's a man that makes people want to play for him. He's a man that creates belief, and he knows how to get it out of you, especially in this Rangers environment. So for Ross McCrorie to come out and say that, yes, it's something we probably already knew, but it's brilliant to hear it from a signing. That's why he's came to the club, and I'm sure that's the reason why other players might follow pursuit in that same kind of, I'm coming here for Derek.
Mm-hmm. I think, William, one of the things that was notable from that, just how much that was emphasised, like not only just, obviously his influence in bringing him in, but also the man management, the motivation that he gives you. Ross McCrorie is saying he'd run through brick walls for it. I mean, it's all talk, it's all early days, but still, really good to hear that. I think we were looking to find some way of getting better motivation, a better mentality out of this squad, because I mean, of all the faults that we laid at their feet last season, that was absolutely one of them. Just the mentality and the kind of mindset and approach. So to hear that is really promising stuff. Obviously, it's all just talk at the moment, but still making all the right noise at the moment.
Yeah, spot on, mate. Again, I can't remember who said it, but again, talk is cheap. So at the end of the day, all these players can give a really good interview, really good press conference, but we'll judge them at the end of the league and how well they do, and we'll judge them game by game basis as well. But no, I think quite a lot of the things the players have always said is Derek McInnes' man management. Every player that's came in has mentioned how he's a good man to talk to. He's very personable. He gets them on a personal level as well. So that goes a long way. As small stints in management for myself, and not in comparison with obviously managing a football team, but you do tend to get better out of people when you are interested in them as an individual. So I think that's a strong thing for Derek McInnes. And as Ross McCrorie said, he's willing to run through a brick wall for him, and he's a supporter. So, and Derek McInnes gets our club, he gets the DNA, he understands what it means to put on that jersey and step across that line. And one of the things he emphasised when he wants to bring in players is they're here to play for Rangers first and foremost. He doesn't mind them having aspirations to do whatever else, but they need to understand that if they want to achieve what they want to achieve, they need to give Rangers every bit of their focus and attention. So yeah, again, everything that people are saying in press conference interviews is the right thing, but at the end of the day, actions speak louder than words. So I'm very keen to see the likes of Ross McCrorie, if he's going to be like, again, a starter or a squad player and stuff like that. Again, Daniel as well. Interesting to kind of see where he'll fit in, because again, he's kind of building from the back, starting with a spine, number 6, again, right back and stuff like that. So it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it, and I think every player, as I said, who spoke about Derek has came in and said he's one of the main factors of coming to our club. Obviously, the fact of the club itself, the capacity you're going to play in front of, and the challenge and stuff like that. Again, I really like the fact that Ross McCrorie was humble enough to admit, verbatim, I can't remember if I'm saying it word for word, but he's not that smiley wee boy anymore that he once was. He's just happy to be here. That takes a lot to say that in front of a lot of people who are going to scrutinise what you say and or want to maybe scrutinise what you say. So hats off to him. I think that takes a lot of character, and I think it shows you character development. But again, we'll see when we that first 12 minutes of the first home game, and that's where we'll judge him, I suppose.
Oh, 100%. Friendly against West Ham is absolutely, his entire rest of his Rangers career is set from that point. Davie, we obviously knew Ross McCrorie when he was our player previously, but I do think it's interesting, something William touched on there, that the type of player we're now getting back, he's not going to be the same player. We've seen he has had more experience in the SPFL, not just with Rangers, but also with Aberdeen. And he's got experience elsewhere as well. So I think him bringing that experience in is absolutely going to be useful, but it does mean we're getting back a different player than I think the one we might have in our head, what we think we knew about Ross McCrorie beforehand.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I still call him young Ross McCrorie, and I think he's 28 now. I suppose it reminds me a bit of when Walter Smith came back, and the second time, and he brought in quite a number of Scottish players in his first transfer window. He brought in some experience, guys like Lee McCulloch, for example, who were around about the same age then as McCrorie is now, sort of late 20s. I remember McCulloch, I'd see him at Motherwell, but he was a totally different player. But then I can see McCrorie being that type in the dressing room that the likes of your McCullochs were in 2007. Absolutely gets the club, and every word he has spoken in every interview that he's done so far, it's absolutely pouring out of him about how proud he is to play for the club that he loves again. I think he's going to be a bit of a surprise to quite a number of people, because I think a lot of people when he arrived, what we're getting him back for, he wasn't good enough the first time, all that sort of stuff. We're bringing in now a guy who's probably played another 150, 180 games since he left Rangers. He's now a hardened professional. He's played for a couple of clubs that don't win much, but they play in big games against big teams, and they have to compete with them. I think that he's going to do a right job. I suppose the question I've got in my head is I'm not 100% sure where he's going to fit into the team yet. I know he's played mainly at right back on the right side of the fence for his last two clubs, and I'm presuming seems James Tavernier's away, that's probably where he's viewed as being most likely to nail down a place. But I still think we probably will bring another right back in. So for me, he's one of these. I don't want to say he'll do a job. He'll do more than a job. But I think every successful squad needs players that can fill in here, fill in there. When you get injuries, you get suspensions, when you get somebody sent off and somebody's got to go back in, all that kind of stuff. I think he's a player that's going to do a lot for us in terms of right back, centre half, maybe midfield, maybe who knows where else he might slot in, and he'll compete. He'll wear the jersey with pride, and I think it'll rub off on others as well. He's the kind, I think who's come in to pull the socks off of some others round about him. I think he's an excellent signing, and I think he'll surprise quite a number of people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a good utility player is never going to be undervalued, because it's us. We'll always pick up weird injuries in the most important positions throughout the season, because that's Rangers. That's just what we do. I want to stay with you, Davie, and chat a lot about Ben Godfrey. Obviously, he's another one of the new signings who had their press conference. Again, please go and check out Rob's video on that came out earlier today. Definitely worth checking out, getting his views on it, and seeing the press conference in full. But I think he's more of an unknown quantity, obviously, Davie. It's and it's difficult because you can look at the stats for the past couple of seasons and get a bit leery about it. But what I would say at the moment is that it's all an unknown until he actually pulls on a Rangers shirt, because we saw last season how Yusuf Chamiti looked like someone who hadn't scored any goals based on his previous stats for 2 years, and we didn't think we'd get any kind of player out of him. Now he finished the season, I think, either as our top goal scorer or maybe one behind Tav, which again speaks to that own little bit of ridiculousness that we have there. But I mean, obviously, I think we're going to have concerns over that. Just the 18 appearances that he made last season. Are you concerned about that, or are you trusting McInnes on this one?
It does seem a little bit of a throwback signing from the kind of profile that we were bringing in under previous regimes, that one. There's absolutely no doubt that there's a player there. Everton and Atalanta don't sign guys that haven't a lot of football ability. But I think he has struggled to nail down a place at 2 or 3 teams. He's not had very impressive loans at a couple of clubs as well. It does sound as if he's almost like in his last chance saloon to resurrect his career a little bit, which might be a good thing because he's got a point to prove to a number of people. I was expecting a centre-back to come in who was a experienced leader type, and he has got experience. I'm just not sure about the leadership side of his game at all. And I think if he's going to be a player who's trying to rediscover his form, then players like that aren't usually the kind that are going to have to also drag everybody else up at the same time because they've got themselves to think about. And he's right-sided, which I think also means that there's a bit of a gap in the left at the moment. So it's not a signing that has excited me, so to speak, but I think there was absolutely no doubt we had to bring in at least a couple of centre-backs this summer. I'm sure there'll be another one, and McCrorie could even be added to that to make a third one. It'll be interesting to see who McInnes starts the season with, actually, because obviously he's got John Souttar, he's got Fernandes, he's got Godfrey, all of whom are actually right-sided centre-backs. I'm not sure what the best combination is there, but I can't imagine Fernandes won't play if he's fit. And then it's a case of finding the right blend. I think there'll be another one. Do I think Godfrey's a good signing? I actually don't know yet. I don't know. But I've sat here in this podcast before last summer and talked about players I thought were good signings and they turned out to be a pig in a poke. So this one might be the other way around. Flies in under the radar and actually surprises us all.
Yeah, it's all unknowns. But, what are podcasts for if not for, unwarranted and constant speculation, William? So, yeah, I think, again, saying the right words, making the right noises, certainly in the press conference. And I think it's not with an arrogance either. I think he's very aware that he does have something to prove and that, the previous loans that he's gone on, where, as Davie says, he hasn't pulled up trees, I think is going to be a factor. One thing I think that does give me some confidence is something that Derek McInnes has spoken about pretty consistently since he was unveiled, is getting a player with the right mindset, getting players who have got the right motivation to play here. And I would like to think that Ben Godfrey's been given an education in the demands that you're going to have at Rangers. If he's expecting a nice, easy gig to get him eased back into playing football full time after unlucky spells with injuries, etc., he's not picked the right place for that. But I'm sure he's been given an education in exactly what it takes to make it as a Ranger.
Yeah, 100%. Again, I think kind of Davie touched on it about the whole signing kind of going under the radar. I think it's a smart bit of business. I think it's low risk, possibly high reward. And if it doesn't work out, it's a low risk, no reward for us. In the sense of we're not doing these stupid obligation to buy. It's an option to buy if we want to go there. He does have a bag of experience. I think. Again, it's not much, but he's been capped for England, 2 or 3 times, or something like that. Mm-hmm. Played for Everton. Again, pretty big team down south. Not one of the biggest, but again, coming to Rangers, I would like to think Derek McInnes has given him the whole spiel, took him around, shown him the trophy room, shown him everything, and said to him, listen, this is your point to prove now. Like, This back line, apart from Fernandes, God forbid, hopefully it doesn't happen. I don't even want to say it in case everyone fires at me for the sake, but if he hurts himself, then he's your main staple centre back. So I think it's up in the air. Again, I don't see, again, I might be surprised, I don't see Derek McInnes hinging everything on Souttar. I don't think Godfrey is our main staple centre back who we're going to sign. I'd be very surprised if we don't see anybody else come through the doors who's going to bring what we kind of want, that kind of experience. that potential to become better and sell on, maybe a kind of young 24, 25-year-old, something along those lines. Very stout and hardy, kind of snot-nosed kind of centre-back. But again, Godfrey does have a lot to prove, which again, it can work out. Like that can be a great motivator for anyone. Do you know what I mean? What is he, 27, 28, I think, or something like that?
28.
28. He spoke about kind of like his ambition to try and play back for England and stuff like that. He spoke about his ambition, he can't wait to get ready and get started. But yeah, it's a hell of a place to come to try and get back in the spotlight. And I don't want to use the term kind of like reignite your career, because Rangers should never be a club where you just come to reignite your career. That's never the standard we'd have as a club. And again, I know for a fact Derek McInnes, and even if Jim Gillespie has any say in it, when they're talking to him, they're saying, listen, you've got to go out here and prove to these fans why you deserve to be wearing that jersey. So it'll be interesting. I think, again, as I said, it's a low risk for us. I think it's smart business. 3.8 million if he does well. And then you're getting a 29-year-old who, again, no offence, but I don't really see many kind of big teams going out signing an older 29 kind of 30-year-old centre-back. Unless he lights up the world, I obviously hope for that. I hope that for every Rangers player that we bring in. But we'll just need to wait and see. But I would say low risk, high reward for Rangers. I think it's a smart bit of business.
Yeah, Calvin, as William says, there's no obligation there. So really, this is a good opportunity. Let's get a look at the player. If they work out, great. We've got an option to get them at a relatively low rate, because it's still an ex-Premier League centre back. So they're coming with a certain premium attached to them. But if it does work out, if it doesn't work out, then no harm, no foul. We won't be renewing it'll be like Scott Olsen all over again. I still think it's a sensible move. It's showing a level of, I think, caution and pragmatism that we haven't really shown previously. You're looking at what our options are, potentially holding some money back for other signings, and just making sure that we're being sensible with what we try and do in the transfer market.
Yeah, I actually do think that this sign is the one that's meant to be the partner alongside Fernandes, because I think you're forgetting he's a player that's played at the Premier League, he's played in Europe, he's played at the national level, and we've got him in early. And it's something that I think is kind of might go under the radar at this stage in time. I think he's going to be the starting partner alongside Fernandes, unless Fernandes did go. That's the big thing. I don't think we'll spend too much more money on the centre-halves as it stands right now, because we do have, all not being perfect options, there is the variety. You do have the Godfrey, Fernandes, Suter, McCrorie, Sterling, etc., who can all still play there. I think he is the starting centre-half. The only problem I have with that, the signing goes two ways. You go down the Connor Goldson route where he comes up and he starts to thrive as being a Rangers player, or you have that Max Aarons type loan deal where you go, he should have been a superstar 10 years ago and it didn't really work out. That's the two ways I see this going. It's either going to be a match made in heaven, or it's going to end up, you should have sent him up the road in January. That's my two kind of points with it. I do think he's got the potential to be perfect for us, because he's big, physical, he has got legs, he is quite fast at the back, and he's got experience. He's got loads of kind of characteristics that we're looking for in a Rangers leading centre-half, but can he get himself to that level where he once was? And he's talked about it, he struggles at getting back into the Atlanta team. And listen, there's no shame in not being able to get back into the Atlanta team. Italian centre-halves are specifically known for being very good defenders. So for him trying to go over there and remake his career over in Italy was never going to be easy. And it might be the perfect opportunity for us to kind of steal that under the mind radar of a really top quality centre-half. And I hope it really works out for him, because his interviews have been good. He comes across a man that knows this is a massive opportunity for him, not just to reignite his career, but to make his career. This could be the kind of move that makes him massive. And the deal that we've got in place, was it 3.8 million kind of was the optional buy on it? See if we can pull this off. Could be massive. And even if you get him for another year, I know we're saying there's not too many teams that will kind of jump in, but English centre-half that could get 30, 40 games at a good level, you could still make a massive return on him if he has a good loan spell and another good year. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But I do think it's one that could go two ways, and I hope it's the way where it turns out to be more of that. Connor Goldson works out, bees the stalwart of defence, and leads Fernandez a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, no one on here is going to be rooting for any players to fail. We want every Rangers player who comes in to be successful, because it means that Rangers are successful then. So, yeah, it's all we want. It's just speculation at this point, but hopefully, we shall see how things go. Obviously, I do not think our business is anywhere near done. I think we know that we still have areas of the team that we'd like to kind of strengthen. One of those links, which has not gone away yet, Calvin, is Lewis Ferguson. It's been talked about plenty of times, and it was something that Derek McInnes was asked about directly at one of the more recent press conferences. McInnes wouldn't be kind of drawn on it. He's never going to say, "Oh yeah, we're looking at Lewis." Yeah, definitely. But he did speak about that same player profile, talking about the mindset, talking about players who want to come here just to come here. They're not coming here to look for their next big move. And I do think that is something that we would get in Lewis Ferguson, because he's had his big move. Like he went to Bologna. He's set a pathway for Scottish players in Italy, which has now become a route that loads of players that seem to be going down. So I do think it is the right mindset, and I do think you would be getting a player who's not looking to use this as a jumping pad. To be honest, I suspect that part of the reason that this deal hasn't moved further forward, because we've been very rapid with our transfer dealings, is the fact that potentially a player who might be involved in going the other direction is currently still at the World Cup, although that changed quite recently. So maybe we shall see what happens with that one.
Yeah, I think it's everybody's. I had a big rallying speech the other day in one of the pods, didn't he, about how it's going to be what to see him in the number 6, and then Dan Neil was announced the next day as the number 6. But let's face it, Lewis Ferguson was never the number 6. He's always been number 19 wherever he goes. So sorry, I don't think you were getting that dream. Listen, I think the full fan base, if we get one centre mid this summer, everybody wants Lewis Ferguson. And the Raskin kind of situation where it looks like he could be putting some form of deal where he's heading to Bologna or another Italian team that helps us find that fund to go towards it. The thing is, Lewis Ferguson will want to play for Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
We all know it. It's whether he wants to play for us right now, if we can find the funds to do so, or if he sees himself as having one last move up to a top-end Serie A team, top-end Premier League team, which a lot of folk have talked about in the past. And his agent will probably play in that wee bit of devil's advocate in the middle there. As a Rangers fan, I think deep down in his heart, he'll want to play for Rangers where he can play his best football for us and not come in here as a bit of retirement home in a final push.
Yeah.
It's whether we can get the funds to make that all happen. Because there's a lot of areas in the squad that still need to be pulled up, built up, put together, players to go. Do we think it will happen? I think every one of us does think it will happen, but we have been known to not come through with certain deals in the past. But I genuinely do think there is a chance this could happen when we know what's happening with Raskin. I think it could drag on for another few weeks yet, like we've all noticed. Every other transfers going through nice and fast.
Mm-hmm.
The Raskin manoeuvre here's the bit that could cause it. But I do think Lewis Ferguson wants to be at Rangers possibly right now, because I don't think he'll want to come in and ruin the legacy, the family name, turning up when he's 32 years old and on the way out.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point, Calvin. And yeah, William, obviously, there's always going to be the question about legacy, because it's a tough name to come into where, you know, two of your relatives have already made been a game changer for a team. I'm sure Davie's going to tell me about, 12 brothers who played together in like the 1890s, all with the same last name for Rangers at some point. But still, it's exciting to see someone form part of that continuity and make that happen. Derek Ferguson's been quoted and has said, he is going to play for Rangers at some point. But as Calvin says, it's a question of when does that happen? Does it happen this season, or does he see it later on down the line? I think he would be someone who could make a huge difference for us. But it's going to be a tough one to get over the line.
Yeah, spot on. Again, Lewis Ferguson, if he comes to Rangers, like what a shirt you need to fill. Do you know what I mean? Your uncle and your dad. It's a massive thing. You need to. He doesn't need to do anything. To be fair, I think he'll come in with his own mindset and be like, do you know what? Yep, I had my dad and my uncle played here before, but do you know what? I'm going to make it my own. And I think he's that type of player, and he'll not that he'll not care about the legacy, but he'll influence it and he'll add his own little chapter to that if we do get him. What I don't want is for this to be like the Kenny McLean scenario every season. Oh, we're going to get Lewis Ferguson and we end up don't. Like, so again, he would come in, I think, again, as Calvin said, he wouldn't be number 6, he'd be number 8. I kind of see him a wee bit more as a box-to-box midfielder. That's personally how I kind of see him fitting in, able to kind of influence it up in the kind of the attacking half and also influencing it in the defensive half. Again, his dad saying he'll eventually play for Rangers. I don't know if that's just maybe his dad's dream. Do you know what I mean? What dad doesn't? I've just got a 12-week-year-old wee boy. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sitting saying, you're going to play for Rangers when you're older, son? Do you know what I mean? So I think every dad kind of has that aspiration for their son to play for Rangers. Well, I know we certainly would anyway, but it'll be interesting. We'll need to wait for like Raskin. Like again, if Diamandi's going to stay as well, what's going to happen with Diamandi? If he's going to move on, again, that's kind of went quiet as well. I think what tends to happen is Calvin mentioned about the transfers. It's just out of the blue, and the next day or two we've signed a player, or kind of like Dan Neil, because I think I put something in the group chat. I was like, I thought Dan Neil was away down south. I can't remember if it was Calvin or somebody else who said, so did it. It was meant to go to like, what is it, Southampton or something like that, whatever it was, but then just out of the blue he signed. So let's just hope and pray that it's going to be the case of Raskin goes. Raskin is his fee that we get for him is what's going to get us to go out and possibly get Lewis Ferguson. And what is he? What, 27? I'm terrible again. I blame American football with a head knock. So at that point, they're going to need to get him in a long-term deal. Like what, 4 or 5 years. Kind of see out his career at the end of Rangers, because that's the kind of longevity that you want out of him. And then if he's going to be captain material as well, I think he's got the mindset for it. Again, I think he'll be another player that will run through a brick wall for Derek Ferguson. I mean, listen, even if it wasn't Derek McInnes, I'm getting mixed up here. Even if it wasn't him, too many Dereks. Even if it wasn't him, another manager, he was still running through a brick wall for Rangers. So we know the type of player that we're getting, and I think that's why every fan wants him, is because he's going to give you 120%. Do you know what I mean? He's going to give you more and more and more, because he wants our club to be successful, because he is a boyhood fan of our club. So again, hope and pray that we get him. Do I see it happening anytime soon? I don't, to be honest. I think we'd probably need to wait till the World Cup ends. Maybe not the full World Cup, but we'll kind of the later stages of it before we start to hear anything more about us possibly getting serious with Lewis Ferguson.
Yeah, I think Davie, as William touches on there, the mindset again, I think is key here. It's someone who's coming in with the right motivations. They're not looking to move on elsewhere. It's always going to be huge for Lewis Ferguson at Rangers, but who knows when it happens.
Yeah, but well, the first thing I'll say is the most important brothers at Rangers were the McNeils in 1872, just before you ask me about it. So in my head, this summer's the perfect time. The stars are aligning for this, I think. If I start with Raskin, I think Raskin's value will never be more than it is this summer. He's not a starter for Belgium as often in the World Cup so far, but he has made an impact in the tournament. Teams in the continent have noticed it. We're already starting to see teams linked with him for significant amounts of money. He won't sign another contract. His value will go down after this summer. We need to sell him this summer because you'll get peak money for him. And it will undoubtedly fund bringing in... Yes, Ferguson would cost a lot of money. There's no doubt about that. But we spent 10 million quid last summer on a total gamble on something that might have we might have got absolutely nothing from. Now the gamble worked, and the guy has become more valuable. But the 10 million last summer for Chermiti, when we already had bought a lot of players in, I think showed you that the board were willing to push the boat out if they thought that it was the right thing to do. 15 million or whatever it is for a player who is actually born to be the Rangers captain for the next 5 or 6 years. And if you think about it that way, building a team around him and he won't go anywhere else for 5 or 6 years. I don't think it's this huge gamble and this huge amount of money that a lot of people think it is. And this board have already shown that they will pay 10 million quid for a player. I don't. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen this summer, I think. And I'm quite sure the player himself, as long as the clubs can come to the right agreement, I don't think he'll be particularly difficult to deal with. Everybody's talking about, does he want to go to Germany or does he want to go to another team? I personally think his first choice is wear the armband at Ibrox. I think that's at 27-year-old. I think that's what he wants to do. I think if it doesn't happen this summer, William talked about the Kenny McLean thing. If it doesn't happen this summer, I don't think it will happen. I think it. But if I was a gambling man and I had 50 pence to put on something, I would probably put it on Lewis Ferguson wearing the armband in the first European game this season.
Yeah, I think it's the exact opposite of the problem we normally have to deal with, which is we can agree terms with the club, but then the personal terms become a stumbling block. Personal terms won't be a stumbling block for this one, I do not think. Our final bit of news for tonight then, and I had to have the reference just for the pronunciation for myself. Definite interest from Rangers in Vanja Dragoic, with Rangers looking for something for, some interest there in bringing him into the club. As Davie, you helpfully pointed out, the vice captain, sometimes captain of Partizan Belgrade, another defensive midfielder, which, we're seeing a theme at least with Derek McInnes. Hey, maybe it suggests something about the midfield needing to be changed this season as well. Who knows, right? But again, it's that same player profile. We're looking at people with experience who are trusted in leadership positions, who have shown that mentality. Obviously, Davey, I'm not expecting you to have his stats and everything else to hand, but just in terms of the profile, I think that is exactly the type of player that we should be looking at, right?
Yeah, from what I can find out about him, he's a highly competitive, aggressive, ball-winning midfield player who doesn't like losing and who's a natural leader. Which ticks so many boxes of what was missing last season. It's not true. Being linked with another defensive midfield player when we've just brought in Neil and Ferguson is still getting talked about, strongly suggests that it's not just Raskin that we're looking to move on. It strongly suggests that there's Barron, there's Diamandi, at least one out of those two, I would suggest is likely to be shown the door if this Serbian lad comes in. I know nothing about him, but certainly if it comes to a player who at 20 years old is trusted with the armband in one of the biggest clubs in his country, he's already in his international squad at 20 years old. Other players round about him are talking about him as a natural leader, and he hates losing. And the one thing I have noticed about him is he picks up an awful lot of yellow cards, which maybe it's because he's age rather than anything else, but maybe we need to know that out of him, because God knows what that would mean if he came to Scotland and he played the same way. But it's exactly the kind of profile I think that sounds as if it would work. And it also makes it sound as if the midfield's getting ripped up. And for me, that's no bad thing.
Yeah, it's always going to be unknowns, William, until it happens, right? But again, I mean, we also know we've got Lyle Cameron on the books as well, so that there's plenty of midfield options there who, do not necessarily have to fit into Derek McInnes' plans. Going to be very interesting to see. I think he looks like the right profile, young, so value potential to be added there, but already has the right mindset. So again, another interesting link, I think, for us as we continue through this transfer window.
Yeah, listen, if you're going to want somebody, and not to stereotype or generalise here, who's going to absolutely hate losing and fight like an animal in the field, you want a Serbian or a Slav. Honestly, those like just something different. Like I listen. I know it's a different sport. I played American football, and I played against some of the lads for there, and their mindset is completely different. So, that for me, that's quite exciting. A young guy. As Davey kind of pointed out, vice captain, but we're kind of seeing captain. A lot of his peers are talking highly of him. It's always a good sign. The fact he's going to the fact he might potentially come to a club where every game is a required win. It's not if or buts, it is a win. Then already having that mindset of despising losing, that's going to set him in good stead. And again, if there is anyone with an ounce or reservation in that squad, then I'm sure seeing him play on the field will definitely kind of get them on side with that. And again, I think Davey mentioned about him being vice captain as well. This seems like the type of player for me where, because you've got different captains and different leaders, he might not be like very vocal, but see on the field how he's always picking up those yellow cards and stuff like that. He seems like that type of player that's able maybe just to kind of change the turn of a game just by that taking that yellow card and stuff like that. So I'm already going to kind of coin him the Serbian Kevin Thompson, because if we do get him, then he always picked up a good yellow card. And the old joke was, Walter Smith said to Kevin Thompson, if you've not got a yellow card in the first 5 minutes, I'm subbing you off. Then I hope that's what Derek's going to say to this lad if we bring him in. But I know, again, kind of like Davey, very few I could find on him. It was kind of out the blue, but from what I'm seeing from his characteristics, a very exciting player. Hopefully we can get that deal done. I think that will be something like a Diamande leaving. I would honestly be sad to see Barron go, but again, I understand if McInnes is what to rip up that midfield, change it up, kind of get his own type of mindset of players in there. That's fine. Lyle Cameron as well. I would be quite disappointed if he left. I felt kind of he's kind of hard done by. He was signed by the kind of the former kind of establishment at the time. The new regime came in. He then kind of done us a few performances and then was kind of shipped out. So again, but for us to get better, I think it was, again, Davey will correct me here, it was Graham Souness that said, like, every transfer we want to go out and we always want to improve. Like, no matter who it is, we always should be looking to improve. We should never just sit there and rest because we've won the league that season before. We always need to improve. So yeah, I'd be really excited if we got this young lad. I think he's got the right mental characteristics, but then again, we'll give him 12 minutes and he puts on that shirt, see how he performs.
Oh yeah, very least, at least 5. You know, Calvin, I'll come to you for the last word on the young Serbian. What do you reckon? What do you think? Make some wild assumptions about him.
Well, I noticed a few people in the comments talk about how they've read that he's a centre back. The biggest thing for me is he's a defensive mid that can fill in at centre back. I've noticed that getting picked up a few things. And it tends to be, you tend to find a lot of these young kind of Serbian players, they'll start off in that holding midfield role, and as they develop, they could pull themselves back in. So it wouldn't be surprised if he's that type of player long term. But the typical YouTube video that destroys every player's career, I noticed that he was very good at putting the ball through forward. He was always trying to find that line between the strikers and try to put it in that gap between the wingers and the fullbacks. He was very good at moving the ball forward. So that's something that I was interested in, how he was very fast with the ball. As soon as it came in, there wasn't 2, 3, 4, 5 touches. It was get the ball, move it on to the next person. And he was very rarely passing it backwards, which was good to see. So I think the main kind of things I noticed was hard in the tackle is why he picked up a lot of those yellow cards. Quick and decisive when the ball comes into him. And he was very vocal on the park as well. I thought he was always leading the team around. He was the one dictating things that were happening. So for me, very interesting player. But does it not surprise you that as the Ferguson rumour slows a little bit, another player with that same profile pops back up because agents start talking, they need to create a bit of rumours. So yeah, we'll see. It wouldn't be surprising. It's just Rangers putting another rumour out there to try and get the belong your people at the table a little bit faster in terms of Lewis Ferguson potentially, as known to happen quite a lot in the game these days.
Absolutely, yeah. There's no such thing as a dirty trick when you're an agent trying to get a deal for your football players. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I think the fact that we are absolutely keeping our options open, we're not just locked into this is the one signing we must make, and if we don't make that, then it's all ruined. We have options and we have alternatives that we can go to as well. So yeah, folks, it's been a pleasure chatting to you all tonight. We're scraping around for news, but it's the pre-season bit. The exciting stuff's going to come sooner than you think. So we're going to have plenty of training videos. We're going to have loads of things to kick over and pick apart and really dissect and make wild assumptions and suspicions about. But we are grateful to everyone for joining us on this journey. You will have noticed that we have some new artwork in place because we are now sponsored by a couple of different people. So I just want to thank them right now. CBD Oil Scotland, our lovely friends over at Candide, and LBJ Consulting, as well as our partners Black Rooster and Art of Gold, along with the rydc.co.uk. Thanks to all of them for joining us this season. I believe we're still open and looking for additional sponsorships. So if anyone's interested in that, please reach out to the business email. But first of all, I want to thank the lovely co-hosts, quite literally, who I could not do this without, because otherwise you'd have a very depressing, dull podcast. So my thanks first to Calvin, as ever, my stalwart buddy on a Friday night. Thank you.
It's good to be back, and hopefully next Friday there'll be a few more hats involved. Otherwise, it can't be the Friday night hat pod anymore.
This is true. We'll have to make some arrangements, I'm sure. William, my friend, appreciate you coming on. Thank you again.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'll need to reach out to Calvin so if you can give me some good hat recommendations then. Because again, I've only got one hat and it's literally that's it. So, bye. Good to be on and talk about Rangers.
Cheers, mate. And Davie, officially, this is the only time we've spoken this week. We definitely didn't try and record another podcast, which failed horrifically. This is the only one that went out live to other people. So as far as anyone else is concerned, this is the only time we've spoken this week. So pleasure to talk to you, mate. And thank you again for joining us on a Friday night.
Oh, my pleasure. It was a nice wee change to be on a Friday night with I'll call them the team with more hair on their head than I usually speak with on a Monday. And maybe I should get a hat so that the lights above me don't shine too much in the viewers' faces. But yeah, it's been great. And what I will say is it's the summer. There will be plenty of rumours. And this time next week, there'll probably be 3 or 4 other players we can talk about who may or may not join Rangers. But let's go.
Absolutely. So yeah, thank you again to everyone for tuning in. If you do enjoy the podcast and want to help us grow, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. You can also become a member, again, by using the QR code up there or by following the link in the description below. That gets you ad-free versions of the shows, advance notice and advance viewings of some of the pods that we do. Into with Davie and Mark Walters. Was done yesterday and is now up on the site. So highly encourage folk, if you do have access to that, to check it out. But otherwise, thank you again all so much for joining us. We appreciate you giving up a little bit your Friday night. I'm going to go and check out and see if my Australian brothers can do the business against Egypt tonight. And yeah, enjoy your weekend, folks. We will be back with you on Monday, if not before then, because I'm pretty sure we've got a Sunday show to put out as well. But until then, folks, thank you all so much for joining us. And until we talk to you again, bye for now.
Four Lads Rangers podcast is sponsored by Candide, LBJ Consultants, CBD Oil Scotland, in partnership with Black Rooster, Art of Gold and Rangers Youth Development Company. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.